All right, Matt is here, ready for our final division preview ahead of the 2025 NFL season, the AFC West. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
Good, how about you?
I am fantastic. Full disclosure, if you're watching us on YouTube, this podcast has been pre-recorded at the same time the NFC West podcast was recorded and released on a separate date. That is why we're wearing the same clothes and have the same backgrounds, and my hair looks exactly the same as it did on the last video. But we are ready to wrap up these divisional previews.
I just wear the same clothes every day.
Yeah, Matt just is going to look the same in every single YouTube video that you guys watch.
I intend to live my life looking like a cartoon character who is only recognizable by wearing the same clothes in every scenario.
They didn't even have one other outfit. They didn't have one other outfit for the guy in Curious George. He had to wear the completely yellow suit every day.
Every day.
But this is an AFC podcast, so it is my turn to lead off with my biggest storyline. And this is one I thought about talking about in basically every AFC podcast this year. I sent it to Matt because I was gonna do it for the AFC North with Lamar Jackson, and Matt's like, "Can't that just be your storyline for every podcast?" And I was like, "All right, okay, I'll do 7 other ones, and I'll save this one for last."
Yeah,
I think
you're welcome, people.
I do think this is the most important story of the entire NFL season, though.
Yeah,
is Patrick Mahomes in a polyamorous relationship with his wife? Inquiring minds want to know. Can anyone dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs as the champions of the AFC? Kansas City has made 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. They have been to 7 straight AFC championship games, only being defeated by Tom Brady and the Patriots, which, like, that's how long ago that was. And Joe Burrow, that one year that was kind of wonky. It is almost an unprecedented run of success if the New England Patriots hadn't just done it longer and better than the Kansas City Chiefs have. Almost unprecedented. The only time in the last 6 years that the Kansas City Chiefs did not make the Super Bowl was immediately following Tom Brady and the Buccaneers whomping them in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady, who has 7 Super Bowl rings and is the undisputed GOAT, where Patrick Mahomes is not in this conversation. We are in a similar situation this year, where the Kansas City Chiefs just got absolutely decimated in the Super Bowl by the Philadelphia Eagles. Matt, you and I talked about this on the podcast immediately following the Super Bowl, that the feeling coming out of that game is that the air of invincibility in Kansas City is now broken.
Yeah.
This team is now human. They can be beat. But at the same time, I look at the AFC and say, who's going to beat them? Because the other major quarterbacks in the AFC so far have been the Phillip Rivers to Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. And I say Phillip Rivers because, like, you know, Peyton Manning still got it done during the Tom Brady era. Drew Brees still got a Super Bowl ring. Aaron Rodgers still got a Super Bowl ring. So we have Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who are, you know, 2 of the most talented quarterbacks in the league now, and arguably that we've seen in some time. The combination of rushing, passing, all of the things they can do on the field. They've won a bunch of MVPs. They've done all these wonderful things. The one thing that neither of those guys has done is make a Super Bowl, because they cannot beat Patrick Mahomes when it matters.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of them can. And if Kansas City is to be dethroned, it feels like one of those 2 is going to have to be the guy to get this done. Joe Burrow is the only active quarterback who has beaten Kansas City in the AFC. It doesn't feel like Cincinnati's in a position to do that this year with their defense, and now the news that they're talking about trading Trey Hendrickson. So it's like, it has to be one of you, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Which one of you is it going to be? Because Josh Allen has had multiple chances to put Patrick Mahomes away in playoff games and has never gotten it done and has had his heart ripped out immediately after every single one of those moments. Lamar Jackson has a coach who opted to run the ball 6 times in the AFC Championship game. 6 times, Matt! So we can't count on them either. So while it feels like the Chiefs are more invincible than they have been in a long time, and statistically, over the last 10 years, only the 2018 Patriots have come back and won a Super Bowl immediately after losing one, the year after losing one. And if we look at the last 10 Super Bowl losers, they lose an average of 3.4 more games the following season. But on the other hand, for Kansas City, they won 15 games last season. So even 3 less losses, we're still talking about a 12-5 football team.
Mm-hmm.
I fully expect for Kansas City to be in the mix. Like, I'm not going to go so far to be like, they lost a Super Bowl. They're not making the playoffs this year. But they do feel invincible.
Yeah.
I just don't know if one of these guys can take them down because, like, one of the things that marked Michael Jordan and Tom Brady as the greatest of their generation or the greatest of all time in their cases is they prevented so many other people from reaching their potential. And so far, that is what Patrick Mahomes has done to Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, is that he has squashed what they are able to achieve because he is singularly so great.
Yeah, it almost feels like, based on what we have seen from the Bills and the Ravens, that it's almost going to take a defensively led team in order to make this happen, right? Like, I mean, I'm thinking like, prime Von Miller, like, Broncos kind of.
Look at who's
defense.
beat them, and it's been with defense in the playoffs, right? Like the Patriots game, the Patriots AFC Championship notwithstanding, because that was 34-31 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers dominate them in the playoffs with that nasty pass rush in the Super Bowl. Yep. The Eagles dominate them in the Super Bowl with a pass rush. Yep. The Bengals beat them in the AFC Championship. Probably because Patrick Mahomes had a concussion, but also Lou Anarumo was throwing some freaky stuff at him in the second half of that game.
Yeah.
But like the farther away we get from that, the more that feels like a fluke or like a one-off. So
yeah,
I want to say this is the year someone gets it done. But who's it going to be? Which one of you is going to step up and get this done? Because I agree with you. Like, you have to have a pass rush. You have to do all these things to throw Patrick Mahomes off. But one of you is really going to have to step up when it counts, because you've both had chances to put him away and couldn't do it with the ball in your hands. It wasn't like you were out there watching him the entire time.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we all felt for Josh after the coin flip that year, right? But there have been more bites at the apple since then. And, some of that's on him, some of it's not. But, like, whose fault it is doesn't even matter anymore. It's just a matter of getting it done.
It's Jim Harbaugh's fault. Or John Harbaugh. Whichever Harbaugh brother coaches the Ravens, is his damn fault he ran the ball 6.
It's both of them together. You can't blame one without blaming the other.
6 times, Matt. 6 fucking times.
Yeah.
What is your biggest story for the AFC West before I lose my shit? Again.
I was gonna go with, is Bo Nix legit? However, the more I sit here and, the conversation we had before we started, I think the more important storyline in question is Not even question. It's just a statement. It's time for Justin Herbert to put on his big boy pants. Like it sucks that lost Rashawn Slater for the year, and that injury is going to be nasty enough. Like you never know how guys are going to recover from that patellar injury. That doesn't mean that we forget about everything that this franchise did this offseason to set him up for success. There have been all sorts of weapons added to this offense. You're just going to have to live for at least a year without the luxury of 2 elite tackles. But now nobody can say that there weren't weapons added to this offense. And I think, obviously, Omarion Hampton is going to make a huge difference in the running game in terms of being able to get explosives. But, you have to be able to actually be a threat, not only to get into the playoffs, but while you are in the playoffs. There was plenty of blame to go around in that playoff game this past year, but Justin Herbert did not play well. Point blank, period.
Having to navigate this season without 2 elite tackles sounds like is such a champagne problem.
Right.
It's such a first world problem. Welcome down here with the rest of us, assholes.
Right.
Yeah, after they lost to the Texans, I came on this podcast and I was like, listen, if we're having quarterback debates or conversations and we're ranking quarterbacks, I do not want to hear anything about Justin Herbert sniffing the top 10 until he wins a playoff game. And then I went through and I ranked all the quarterbacks this year and I got to 10 and I was like, God, it's really hard not to say Justin Herbert, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it because he's got to prove it, man. He's had some good regular seasons. Last year was, he did a really good job. They won a bunch of games. The stats weren't what you normally would see from a Justin Herbert, but...
No, but he had... 3 interceptions last year?
Yeah, it was 20-something touchdowns and 3 picks or something, and then
yeah,
immediately goes out against the Texans in the playoffs and throws more picks in that game than he had thrown the entire season. To that point, I think he had either 4 or 5 in that game. It was not good. And this is the thing, is you put all of the weapons around James Harden that you want. I still know what's going to happen with James Harden in crunch time. Justin Herbert needs to prove that that's not the same story here.
Yeah.
He still needs to prove it because we haven't seen it yet in his NFL career. All right, win ranges for the AFC West. Starting with the Denver Broncos. Matt, I have the Broncos at 10-13 this season. Vegas over-under of 9.5. I really, really like the Broncos this year. I went through before we started doing these previews, and I ranked every team by coach, quarterback, offensive line, and defensive line. And then I gave them points based on their rankings. I ended up having the Broncos with more points than the Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't have Bo Nix super high. I'll talk about him in a sec. I didn't have him super high on my quarterback list, but I have Sean Payton as a top 5 head coach after the work he did last year. And their offensive and defensive lines both might be the best in the NFL. They're going to be in the conversation for it this season. So it's a team with a great defense. They're going to be really good in the trenches, and they have a great head coach. I think the question is, have we seen Bo Nix ceiling? Which is kind of what you were alluding to in the narrative that you didn't pick. But I think a lot of people, we talked about this with CJ Stroud last year, is that he had a great rookie season. and everybody projected him to take a step forward. And there was even people saying that the Texans are going to be a Super Bowl contender last year because they're like, CJ Stroud, step forward. This is going to be amazing. And we talked about it on this podcast. We're like, hey guys, like progression is not a linear thing. You don't just automatically get better.
Yeah.
Now everybody in the league knows what your fastball is. They have the tape on you, and you're going to have to adjust to their adjustments. And we have to see if Bo Nix can do that. That was one thing we talked about with Bo Nix coming out in the draft was like, yeah, he's probably going to be better than like a Drake May right away because he has so much more experience starting football games at a high level. But he doesn't have the elite athleticism. He doesn't have the super high-end talent. He's going to have to win with his head. He's going to have to win with adjustments. And they have the coaching staff to do that. I'm just not going to sit here and be like, yeah, Bo Nix is going to take a huge step forward. This team is a contender this season. I have to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think in particular it's with the quarterback position, like you can't hand the step forward to any of them. Like you can project a big year for a running back or a wide receiver, but like quarterback is so fundamentally different. And until they show it, you literally should not be projecting any sort of jump because like the amount of things that they have to be processing throughout any given play is so exponentially higher than any other position.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. Like, do I think he's capable of making a jump? Yeah, I think his arm is probably better than most people realize. But we still need to see like the explosive throws at a little bit higher rate than we saw last year. I do think too, bringing in RJ Harvey in the draft is really good for them. They had an extremely efficient run game last year, but they did not have a very explosive run game, and I think having some younger legs in there could really help with that. And I think that would go a long way. I have 10 to 12. But like I definitely feel like this is a real threat.
Yeah. I think that this is like the first legitimate threat that Kansas City has had to someone like taking away the division from them since Patrick Mahomes became the starter, because this roster is so good. I think even if Bo Nix doesn't take a step forward, like if he's just the same guy he was last year, I think they can still win double-digit games. And then any leap that he takes is where we start getting into like the 11, 12, 13 range.
Yeah.
Team 2 is the aforementioned Kansas City Chiefs. I have them at 10 to 14. Over under of 10.5, the same as the 49ers and the Lions this season. Listen, it's still Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, right? I think there's a lot of people projecting this team's downfall this season. Like everybody wants to be like, they're like the Bills and the Ravens are the two favorites to win the AFC right now, and everybody's counting out the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's a lot of hopeful thinking because people don't want them to be good again this season. But I also think there's a strong possibility that while they may not win as many games as they won last season, this team could actually be better because they add Josh Simmons, my guy from Ohio State, tackle, who apparently is just going to be healthy to start the season. That was like the big concern on him, is they're like, oh, he could miss a lot of time. They're like, no, actually, he's in camp. He's great. Look at him. He's amazing. I think that could be a massive steal for them. I talked about Josh Simmons ahead of the draft and said that I think he could be the best tackle in the draft. I don't want him to be because I love Will Campbell, I'm glad we have Will Campbell, but Josh Simmons is an athletic beast. They also drafted Jalen Royals, who I really like. I think will help them offensively. I don't know. They're going to be in the mix. I fully expect them to be at least in the second round of the playoffs playing, we'll see how many games they win this season. Like, they could face the Bills and the Ravens in the playoffs this year. We could see the same thing we saw last year where it's like, hey, we're going to play some shit team while the Bills and Ravens play each other and we'll just take the winner there. But as long as they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, I'm not going to be like 8-10. It's just not going to happen.
No. Yeah, I have the same range as you. I do think a key point for them too, though, is what happens with this Rashee Rice suspension. How many games is it? Because it sounds like the reports are the NFL definitely wants to suspend him. So, I think that is rather important because, I mean, they really struggled for the last few years, really, at the wide receiver position. He is the most obvious answer to that struggle.
Yeah.
So
we finally found the line the NFL has for not helping out the Kansas City Chiefs, and it is to commit multiple felonies in the same offseason. This is the line where they're like, no, they're like, Rashee Rice, you've gone too far. We actually have to punish you now. You can't do this. Even without Rashee Rice for the majority of last season, though, they still won 15 games in the regular season. And just like the way in which this team wins some of those games, like nobody else gets that whistle. And I think we'll see some chicanery again this year with or without Rashee. So, especially because there's rumors starting to go around that Taylor Swift may be playing the Super Bowl halftime show this year. And they might want Kansas City there if that's happening. Team 3 nailed the order here. The Las Vegas Raiders. There's two teams that start with loss in this division, and the one is LAS and one is LOS, and they're not the ones that you would think. So, Las Vegas Raiders, I have 5-8 for the Raiders. Over under is 6.5, so Vegas is right there. I think they're gonna be a better team this season in terms of like just being competent and just having some more talent. I just think the division is absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Your crossover division is the NFC East. So now you have like Philly and Washington and the Cowboys on your schedule. Defense is a massive question mark. So I think like this season is going to be a step in the right direction for them as far as like just having some competency back in the building after what we've seen the last couple of years with them. But I think they're still some time away from me being like, hey, they're going to compete for this division and win a bunch of games.
I mean, they improved significantly at the two most important positions, head coach and quarterback, right? So, I think you and I have kind of talked before about how, like, this season is, like, almost a litmus test as to, like, truly how valuable those positions are, because, honestly, the roster outside of improving those areas is still pretty rough. But
it's interesting because they're going to have like elite talent at non-premium positions too. It's like you have the best tight end in the league right now in Brock Bowers, and then I think Ashton Jeanty's going to be really good. So it's like, okay, you're competent in the two most important areas, and you're elite in the least important areas. Like, let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I have 6-8. I just think that it sounds like the vibes last year were just all bad all the time. And Pete Carroll is the number one guy that's going to fix that. Like, guys just love playing for Pete Carroll. So, I think like that in and of itself, I think is going to improve the situation there.
Week 1 of the NFL season is Raiders at Patriots. And I just feel like that game is going to tell us so much about both of these teams this year. I'm just like, I mean, obviously I'm a massive Patriots fan, so I'm interested to watch the game, but just from like podcasting and NFL perspective, I am very fascinated to see where that game goes. Or it's like, because it could be any result, right? It's like, and we're definitely going to overreact to it, especially me. The final team, the other loss, the Los Angeles Chargers. I have the Chargers 8-10. Over under is 9.5. So I actually have them taking a little bit of a step back this season.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely added some talent to the offense. You talked about Omari and Hampton, the running back they drafted high. They drafted Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. They get Najee Harris from Pittsburgh. I think losing Slater is going to be really hard on them this season. You know, we talked about this a little while ago, but like I was listening to a podcast where someone said that this team is like uniquely positioned to lose someone like Slater because they can just slide Joe Alt over from right tackle to left tackle and that solves the problem. And I'm like, yeah, but you solve the problem at left tackle and create a massive problem at right tackle because you were saying it earlier. They don't even have anybody that they want to put in their interim.
Yeah.
Like they're trying people out. They're trying to figure something out. So like it's going to take this offensive line from being one of the best in the NFL to probably being good. But I think that injury in particular is really, really going to hurt this team this season.
Prior to the injury, I had them from 9-11. But I am going to slide that back to 8-10 just because I can't sit here and say losing an elite left tackle is not going to negatively impact a team, especially a team that doesn't feel good about their depth there, which is probably 32 teams in the NFL. But
yeah, I do really like Omari and Hampton though.
Oh, yes.
I think the upgrade from like who'd they have last year was like J.K. Dobbins and God, what was the other? They had another like washed up Baltimore running back. Gus Edwards.
Yeah,
they had Gus Edwards. Like they were just like they took a bunch of other teams kind of like washed up garbage guys and they're like, it's fine. We're just gonna run the ball a ton. Now you have a legitimately insanely talented running back who you spent high draft capital on to be in this Jim Harbaugh system. Got the Harbaugh right that time. With homeboy is still the offensive coordinator there. The guy, you know,
Greg Roman,
our favorite, Greg Roman, loves to run the frickin' ball. It'll take us into bold predictions. My bold prediction is actually that Omari and Hampton is going to have more fantasy points than Ashton Jeanty this season. I don't want it to happen because we have Jeanty in our dynasty league, and I do think he'll be very good, but I think like just the situation and how good the Chargers offense can still be even without Slater, with how they've kind of weaponized it around Herbert. They're just going to score more points and have more yards than the Raiders this season, so it's just going to be more opportunity for Hampton. Although it could be more of a split backfield with Najee Harris being there, I still expect Hampton's talent to shine through, and they're just going to be like, yeah, this kid's fucking awesome and can do exactly what we want to do with him.
Yeah, I could see it. Obviously, Slater kind of puts a damper on that maybe a little bit, but
yeah, when they had Slater still, I was like, this is like a home run bold prediction, but now it's like,
yeah.
What is your?
Mine is Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty will combine for more touchdowns than the entirety of the Raiders' wide receiving core. The
I
only
don't feel like that's very bold. I feel like that's just factual.
the only wide receiver on that roster that I like is Jack Besh. It's pretty rough.
I feel like I'm gonna say you got to up the spice here a little bit because that's just gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. I think like Brock Bowers, could have double digits, and Gene T
double digits.
I mean, probably that too, but won't be analyzing that on the podcast. But I think that Bowers could have double digit touchdowns. Gene T, it's probably more realistic that he has like 10 or something like that this season, but I think the upside of him potentially having like 17 or 18 touchdowns is there with how good we know he can be. Give me like a plus 5 on it or something.
Okay, yeah, I'll do a +5.
Put a +5 in there. Can I do it? Will Excel let me do it? It's like, hey, you have a formula error. You put +5 in the text box, but yeah, part of me wants to make you do +10, but I think that's just gonna happen, at least. How is Tyler Lockett not on this team with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith? How, God.
It's just
I like Jacoby Myers as a stealth fantasy asset in like the 7th or 8th round, but
not
a touchdown heavy guy.
No.
There.
No. Especially at this stage of his career, it's kind of like
Yeah. Division winner picks. As much as I wanted to pick the Denver Broncos, when we started the podcast, I promised I was not going to be the guy that I had to deal with for so long as a Patriots fan, where there were these podcast personalities at like The Ringer and ESPN and Yahoo that just always picked against the Pats. And I was like, you are going to be so stupid in like 7 weeks when you pick the Jets to win the AFC East. You're like, I really think this is the Jets' year to take it from the Pats. And it just never was. It never was. No matter how good any of those other teams looked in the preseason, it never was. I promised I wouldn't be that guy with the Chiefs, and I'm not going to be. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win the AFC West.
This is tough for me because I do think it is like that close. Not that I think that has any bearing on which one will be more successful in the postseason, but man, I can see how Denver could push them to the wild card, but until they do it, I gotta go with the Chiefs. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it could get to the point where it's like a coin flip. But if we're in a coin flip situation, who would you rather have than the Chiefs? Because they win that every single time.
Yeah. Well, I think what has to happen is like they have to win the head-to-head matchups. Right? Yeah. They have to steal those 2 games because I just don't see Kansas City dropping enough games otherwise. But that also doesn't mean they're going to win in the playoffs. So
yeah, it's true. I can't pick someone else to win this division until I have proof of concept.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm going to feel real stupid if I don't pick the Chiefs. I'd rather pick the Chiefs and be wrong than pick the Broncos and be wrong. That's where I'm at. So, but that is it for us. As always, Foul Duck can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, and now YouTube. You can go and check out the video version of this podcast on YouTube. Just foul Googled out sports. Just search Fouled Out Sports on YouTube, and you can find all of our videos. We have like the backlog of podcasts are all uploaded on YouTube too, but it's just the audio format. The video format, you can check out the last couple of preview podcasts, including the one we just dropped Tuesday, the preview of the NFC West. If you didn't see that, go check it out. And to anybody who has gone and watched the YouTube videos, thank you. Really appreciate your guys' support. Matt, we're all done with the previews. We have gone through all 8 divisions. If you all missed a division, go back to one of the previously listed podcast areas. I'm losing my words here. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Go listen to the ones you missed. Go watch the YouTube videos you missed. Get all caught up, because Matt and I are coming back next week with the picks pod, where we're going to round out all of our playoff picks with our wild cards. We're going to pick all of the award winners, MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, all that fun stuff. We will pick the Super Bowl matchup and the Super Bowl champions. A pick that I am 100% sure will not be wrong 3 weeks into the season. But for now, my friend, I will see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye,
All
Mom.
right,